might say that the wide receivers, some of the guys are establishing themselves as top guys.
Yeah.
Trying to find those next group of guys. What
Yeah.
are you looking for in these next few weeks as Alabama gets closer for those guys to kind of step up and separate themselves?
Just consistency all the way around. I think we got a good pool of guys that, that have really good athleticism. They come to work every day, but just the consistency of, the offense, being able to run, like we wanted to run, being able to block on the perimeter, making plays on a consistent basis when they get those opportunities. So that's really what we're looking for from those guys. And all of them have shown their flashes, and I'm excited how that competition is kind of, playing itself out right now.
Coach mentioned that Gavin White was able to
Yeah.
get back out and do some things.
Yeah.
Is it too late to do much early this season, or how do you view him, kind of what's possible even at this point?
Oh no, Gavin. I expect him to be available at the start of the season. I think the biggest thing with him is he's an experienced guy. He's been in college, a while, picked up different systems throughout his time. So you see that experience when he's out there. Like today, you wouldn't have known that he missed some time. He's able to come out. He's really done a good job in the meetings leading up to today of staying engaged, staying locked in on and waiting for his opportunities to come when he was cleared to do that. And today you saw that. So I'm excited about where he's at.
Coach, thinking about some of those second-year receivers, Elijah, Cameron, BJ,
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, even Makai.
Yep. Yeah.
Who's really kind of stepped up and maybe
Yep.
top?
Again, I think all of them, all those guys that you mentioned, you've seen different things throughout camp of them flash, for a couple of days, and that was kind of that group of guys that you talk about. You want to see that consistency, though, being that they can do it and show up every day. I think Mai Danzy has done a really good job, probably over the last 2 weeks, of pushing himself into a really good position. And but you've seen it from all of them. BJ stood out, his athleticism. He plays very strong. For a guy, he can move all around, all the different positions that we play at receiver. BJ got the body type and the athletic ability to play them all. Cam has done a really good job, stood out in some perimeter blocking things. And, I think they all try to find a role to, to etch themselves in. And you're seeing those guys try to do everything that they can to put themselves in position to be in it. And Lawayne, he's the only guy I didn't talk about, but Lawayne is probably one of the better route runners we have in our group, and he's continuing to grow and learn. And all of them will find themselves, being a part of our offense at some point this year. I truly believe that because they all have the ability to do that.
Deuce and Squirrel kind of setting the stage. I mean,
Yeah.
have they have you seen them, their chemistry with Tommy and
Yeah, definitely.
even more so than you saw in the spring?
Yeah, absolutely. You see, there's a confidence there, with all those guys, especially, guys like Squirrel and Deuce who, came in after having played a good bit at their, last school. So the confidence now of going through a spring with Tommy and, going through a spring in the offense, you're seeing that right now. So, I'm really excited about where they're at. Tommy's been really excited about where they are, and we'll continue to bring more guys along to get closer to where they are right now.
With the tempo that Gus likes to go with,
Mhm.
I guess how important is the depth that you're talking about
Yeah.
establishing? Do you have an idea per game, like how many guys you think is realistic?
I think in our system with how fast we play and what we ask them to do, I hate to put a number on it, but you're probably gonna get 5, 6 guys that play. We start talking about packages and all that for certain things that we, when you watch our offense, we do special things sometimes too. So we'll package and put guys in position to have success. That's what we're all about at the end of the day, being able to use guys to their strengths and put them in positions where they can succeed.
Coach, when you mentioned Makai, obviously making the transition from
Mhm.
his position, coming off the injury after track, how encouraging is it just to see the progress
Oh,
he's made
man.
so early?
Oh, man, it's big. I'm super proud of him just because I know everything that goes into it. He's been a kid that played running back, his whole life. You're playing the game totally different on the perimeter. Now you're running routes and expecting to run them precise. And then you got to be physical and hold up and perimeter blocking. And, he's done a really good job of just locking in, man. And I think early on, even right now, I still don't think he knows how good he can be, but he's seeing it every day because every time he get opportunities, he's standing out. So I'm super proud of where he is. He's taking coaching, and he's a lot more physical player on the perimeter than you would think when you look at him.
Chris, for a freshman, how advanced is Jamin and just every element of being a receiver in this offense?
Super advanced. I think the biggest thing with him is the maturity. He really handles his business. I hear people, guys will come up here and talk about him. They use, he's a pro. And, I think he's that, the mindset of him. You saw it in recruitment, though. So it's not a surprise to any of us. He was the same way in recruiting. He's a kid that you could talk to. And, he was very serious about what he wanted to get out of his experience in college. And he comes into the building every day, and that's exactly what you see when he's on the practice field. Very detailed. You know, you watch his his growth from spring football to right now. I think the biggest jump that he's made is his ability to play without the ball, and not just when he's engaged in blocks, but you're watching a young kid like understand what it's about to chase the ball when it's away from me, trying to cut people off. But his ball skills, when you just talk about him, us being able to get the ball, his ball skills are some of the best that I've seen, and you're seeing that on a consistent basis. So that's the biggest thing. He's not just a freshman kid that have flashed a time or two. You're seeing him show up every single day, and that's what I think everybody on this program is excited about.
Corey, do you think, I think a lot of people think that Deuce is the number one, could be the number one, could be a star, could have a breakout season. Have you seen that kind of growth from him? And what do you think his potential is for this season?
Super high ceiling. He has goals. He has goals, and we have goals right along with him of what he can be. And what I'm most impressed with Deuce about is he's not a guy that just talks it. Like you get some kids when you talk to them and they tell you they want to do certain things, but you don't see that work ethic that comes behind it, and you see that with him. He's very proactive in how he trying to develop as a receiver, and we've just been super impressed with him from the moment he stepped in this building. He gives, all of himself into being the very best that he can be, and you've seen it in his game. You from spring football to right now, and you watch him practice. He's developing that dominant mentality, and he's seeing as the days go that if he's playing at the top of his game, he can give guys a lot of problems. So we're super excited about where Deuce is, super excited about where he can go. But I think he got a really good chance to do some great things.
With Javen, the physical tools,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned the ball skills. Is that like the top of the line of the tools that give him a chance to play?
Absolutely. He finds a way to get open. A lot of people will probably look at his skill set and say what he don't have. But, when you just look at him as a player and what he's done in his career, even, before he got to this level, all he's done is produce. And, you see a kid like that walking to college and with his work ethic and his mindset, and you seeing it show up every single day on our practice field, always finding a way to get himself in position to get the ball. When he's in contested situations, he's making the plays a high percentage of the time. When you're watching him on the perimeter blocking people, he's trying to finish. You're seeing that, dog mentality come out of him every day. And what it is for a young kid is when they see themselves having success, that confidence starts to go up. And, you're seeing it in him. And, I'm super excited about, what his future can look like.
Given your track background, I'm sure you have a better perspective on how special Makai could be
Mm-hmm.
in
Oh, yeah.
that sport.
Absolutely.
But what were your conversations like with him about, when he did what he did in the spring?
Yeah.
On the track, about coming back to football, and what's it,
Well, that's a good thing about him. I think he truly believes that, he can be a high-level athlete in both sports. So there was never any conversation or us being worried that he wouldn't come back, because we know that, he really feels like he can come to football and be just as impressive. But I think for me, when he did that, there is that thought that crossed your mind, like, damn, like he keep dropping times like that. Who knows? Because I know he can do. But he's a football player at heart. He got a football player mindset. So I'm glad that we got him, and he can have some of that track speed and show it on our side.
Anything else? Brendan?
I think it was Coach Norvell talked about Tay. Sorry, threw me off.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Talked about Tay a little bit
Yep.
earlier. What does he have to do does he have a chance, I guess, as a true freshman to contribute this year?
But yeah, he's developed. I know Coach said, he had a couple of days where he was down a little bit, and today, he got back out there and he made a big play, made an explosive play, and he was able to finish it too. So that's what I was excited to see. But Tay has all the tools to be able to come in and produce for us, this year if given the opportunity. I think right now for him is just learning. He's a young player that's just learning, and he's still trying to figure a lot out. But I'm super excited about what his future looks like. The big kid like him that moves the way that he does, and the things that he showed today and the explosive play that he made. That's what we expect of him. So we got to continue to push him and hope that we can get the consistency of seeing that more.
All right.
When you talk about Javen, some schools weren't fired up about him coming out of high school as much as you guys were when you got him commit to UCLA. Was there ever any doubt for you guys as a staff?
No doubt at all. I truly believe when you talk about recruiting, you you get what you recruit, and when you really do the background and you watch a kid play, and then you sit down with them and you build a relationship with them and see what they're all about. He had what it takes to be a high-level player at this level. The mindset part, his production at that level, that speaks for itself. The guy was Mr. Football in the state of Florida as a junior. So that part of it, I think, was taken care of. But when you talk to him and his mindset, you know that the attributes of what people say he may not have, his work ethic and everything of how he carries himself is going to oversee that. So, I'm not surprised at all, and I never had a question in my mind about what he could be.
How much does it help to have somebody like Deuce and Swirl, maybe even Boggs turns into this, where the receivers at Florida State are used to making special plays and contested catches? That was something obviously that was missing last year. And you have a lot of young guys that need to learn how to be special and make competitive plays.
Yeah.
How much can Deuce and Swirl kind of help in that regard, just like showing them, yeah, man, go make a play, go be a player?
Yeah, all of them, they've been pushed to that every single day. I think in our offensive system, when we want to get our receivers in one-on-one situations, and when you're one-on-one, a lot of times you're going to have bodies around you. Some guys like Squirrel and Danzy, they can create a lot of separation with speed, but most guys, DBs, are going to be close by you when you're in one-on-one situations. So we push our guys from day one that we're going to have to make contested catches in this offense, and that's something that I think as an overall group, not just those two, but when you watch us in camp, as a group, you've seen probably a good number of our guys being able to make those plays. So that's what I've been most excited about, because I think that's something that gets lost sometimes, of just being able to make those contested plays. So we preach it from day one that it has to be done in this system, and I think our guys understand that, and you've been able to see that throughout training camp.
How much can Coach White's scheme test your receivers
Oh, yeah.
in terms of the details of the game, blocking,
Yeah.
landmarks, all that kind of stuff?
No, it's really good. I think for our guys overall on offense, some of the things we do on defense, some people say they're unconventional. I think it's good for us to go against this type of defense every single day. It's helping our players. Probably some of the looks that we get will be some of the hardest they see all season. But it's good for them, because they need that. And if we ever run into a defense that's doing things like we do, that the adjustments are there for us to make. So, but. Yeah, they definitely give us some wacky stuff sometimes, but I think it's really good to go against.
How is the blocking coming around just for the group overall? Are you guys close to what Coach Malzahn wants?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But I think it's, when it comes to that, at our position, you want to preach that every day. So even as they get into a point where they're starting to show some consistency there, you're patting them on the back, you're making sure that we know it's getting to what we want. But I think it's going to be a constant thing. You got to stay on receivers about that all the time, because sometimes when they think they've arrived in other areas, you have a drop-off in that area. And in our offense, that's super important with the things that we try to do. So, that's something we'll be hard on them about throughout. So, and they're answering the bell, though. You're seeing physical play. You're seeing guys finish, and that's what we preach every day.
Anything else for Coach Harris? All right.
All right. Thank y'all.